It's interesting to watch the life science industry's current frenzy of deal making. It leads us to ask, why is it happening and where is it taking us? Now, the words that spring to mind for me are those of Theodosius Dobzhansky, who wrote an essay in 1973 called "Nothing in Biology Makes Sense Except in the Light of Evolution." And that essay, it's a good read and you can look it up on the web, is an argument against religious fundamentalists who believe, among other things, that the sun orbits the earth. So how does this old essay about religious fundamentalism help us to understand this blizzard of deal-making activity that we're seeing now? Well, stick with me whilst I explain the theory, and then I promise I'll come back to you with some practical, down-to-earth points about what it might mean for you and your company. My field is studying the evolution of the life sciences industry, and it's based on the idea that industries are complex adaptive systems, just like biological systems such as the Amazonian rainforest. Now, from the point of view of a geeky management scientist like me, evolution isn't a biological theory at all. It's a generalised theory to explain the behaviour of any complex adaptive system. To quote from Professor Stanley Medcalf, evolutionary theory is a manner of reasoning in its own right, quite independent of any use of it made by biologists. They simply got there first. So if you take the position as I do, that evolution is a good way of explaining what's going on in the industry, it's perfectly reasonable and quite helpful to adapt Dobzhansky's idea and say that nothing in the life sciences industry makes sense except in the light of evolution. So what happens if we look at the current industry events through the lens of evolutionary theory? I think three things leap out. Firstly, when I read about the drivers of such deals, for example, Novartis building capabilities in oncology or Valiant building a relatively low-cost business model, my evolutionary lens sees these as adaptations to different selection pressures. One selection pressure in the life sciences environment favours innovation in technically difficult areas like oncology. Another selection pressure favours low cost, low innovation in less demanding areas. The second thing that stands out is fitness. To ask which business model is best is like asking whether a man is better than a penguin. You can talk, you can do calculus, you can write poetry, but let's see you catch a fish in Antarctic waters. In evolution, best can only mean best fit with the environment, and our market environment is fragmenting. So that leads to the third point, which is that through an evolutionary lens, we see adaptive radiation, which is when organisms diversify into new forms when the environment changes. Darwin famously saw this in the Galapagos Islands when he looked at the different beak shapes of finches, and we're seeing it now in our industry. So the industry model isn't just changing, it's splitting into several distinct forms. Now back to my promise of a practical application. What does this mean for your company? Well, it means that you can, to a degree, manage your own evolution in 4 steps. The first is to understand how the market is fragmenting and the differing selection pressures in each of the market's new sub-habitats. The second is that to work out what is best fit with the environment and what that looks like in each of the sub-habitats, because it's different. Third is to choose the habitat in which your company is best able to compete. And then fourthly and finally is to build the strategy, structures, capabilities that fit your chosen environment. The deal making we're seeing is simply companies making their different choices, and that's evolution in progress. What you can't do is try to be both a man and a penguin. That won't work.